Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter. It's 12 p.m. Eastern Time here. We're going to go ahead and get started on our topic. Basically, we are offering a number of these on some basic or sample membership reports this year. This particular event is on a report of those adults in the church who have not attended and not given or donated to the church within a specific period of time. It kind of covers both a little bit of both the querying on the report as well as the output options on there. So who do we want to include on a report versus as opposed to what do we want to see on the report. So before we get started on those, a few things. If you don't have a dual monitor set up, click the little red arrow on the sidebar of your webinar control panel. That allows you to minimize that. This is for those that have never attended an event before. It allows you to minimize that and get it out of the way. If you've got a dual monitor set up, drag that icon or that control panel off to the second desktop again just to get it out of the way. It will be here for 20 minutes, no longer, on the topic. I don't even think it'll even take that long. Frankly, it may, but I will promptly wrap it up at 20 minutes after. I'll be happy to stick around and answer any questions that I've been unable to answer during the webinar event. We are recording today's webinar, so the recording of today's event will be out on our website sometime early next week. The person who does normally get those out quicker than that is out of the office on vacation, and so we won't be able to get it out until next week. We do have an event on this same topic already out on the website under our support center here. If you type in, attendance or giving or something like that, it says right here, report for no attendance and no giving, version 17 and newer. I believe this was in version 19, but we notice here, still taken from M205, pages 26 through 31. It's the same exact workbook and the same page numbers for today. For those of you that have the workbooks. If not, you can certainly purchase those from the workbook page on our website. We do try to kind of help keep a through line for the software for folks using the workbooks in combination with the software as much as possible. Just kind of helps kind of put it all together for folks in their thinking. But you can also purchase those workbooks directly from the website as well. Good deals on bundles for those too. All right, so let's get to our topic here. All right, so on page 26, typically, we're going to go into membership here. We're going to go right up here to report/export in the top left. We are on version 21.18.4, folks, just an FYI. We're going to go right up here to the upper left to reports and labels, and we're going to choose reports directory export. But notice we could produce labels for these folks if the church was, say, wanting to be able to email or send a letter to folks saying, hey, we haven't seen you in a while and you haven't given, hope everything's okay, so you could produce email for those folks as well. But we're just going to produce a standard basic report. So we're going to choose reports directory export, and it opens up our step 1 screen. So this window always kind of tells us what's on that. So here it says, step 1, select who should appear on our report. So I'm a tech who's big on that on my support calls, where I always say, step 1 is who, step 2 is what, okay? So this is a somewhat complex query. So the first portion of it, again, is those that have not attended the church in a period of time, attended the worship event in a particular period of time. So right here under our people tab in the top left, we would click the down arrow, or I would click in there and start typing. So if we type in ATT, we notice we have one called attendance in parentheses. So if we now choose that, it then opens up per the screenshot on page 26 of our attendance selection. So we would choose, what worship events they would have not had to have attended. So in this case, we're going to choose our Sunday morning worship event, albeit I could choose any of them. And then down here, we would enter our date range. So we're going to assume that we're looking for those that have not attended in the first quarter of the year. So I would put in 01/01/2019 through, say, 3/31/2019. And then, of course, down here under our times attended, we would enter 0 through 0. They cannot have attended within the specified date range, okay? And then we're going to click the button that says Add Selection. So it now adds it to our Select Membership Individuals Fitting This Criteria list. Now, we don't want to include children in this query, so we have to also now add the ability for the system to filter out kids. And so we have to click an and add an and in there. And then we're going to go up here to our Select Membership field at the top left, and we're going to choose here now Directory Report Order. Again, this is the easiest and best way to omit children from our query. So here we're choosing Directory Report Order. The logic is everyone in our database is assigned a Directory Report Order selection. So here we would choose Not right here. Should see that there. It shows up in red for mine now when I hover over that. Maybe folks can't see it. Let me get out my highlighter and kind of draw some focus. Right here, Not, okay? And then we're going to choose Child over here. So let me get my regular drawing tool back. None of them are checked, so I would now put a check mark in Child with Family, okay? And I'm going to add that selection, okay? So now I'm going to steer my focus to the right-hand side of the screen over here. So if, say, you've got categories, if you don't want to include, say, visitors, you could uncheck, any one of your categories here. I've seen churches that have a half a dozen of these categories now that they can have them. You're not restricted to just members and visitors, but basically any of the categories that you're not wanting to include, you would uncheck those. But we're going to leave it as members and visitors. And then further down the right-hand side, you definitely don't want to, you want to make sure that inactive are also not checked. And most likely our donations, individuals and donations givers, group givers and individual givers are not relevant because we cannot record those folks as having attended. So typically we would probably not want to have anything checked under the include section further down the right-hand side here, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're now going to click on our tab across the top here called Giving and Pledging, okay? So this is now where we're going to click on this, and this is where we're going to add our non-giving criteria, okay? So again, probably the most important part of this query, of course, is we need to make sure that our giving period date range over here on the right-hand side is entered as for the same period as my attendance, okay? If we don't do that, then the report could be presenting us with some misinformation or misleading information because we haven't entered giving date range to match our attended date range, date criteria. So here I would choose, donation date range of 1/1/19 through, again, March 31st of 2019. And then we're going to steer our focus over to the left-hand side, and under Giving Include, we're going to change it to from all to only those who did not give. Okay? And then down here under Pledging Include, we can leave it as all. Pledging is not part of the query, so it's regardless of pledge. So the pledging should be set to all. Okay? So we've kind of raced through those first two pages 26 and 27 pretty quickly through this, and we're now on to page 28 where we're now adding our giving criteria, okay? So, we move to the next tab here at the top called Accounts. So you have, it's going to look at all giving to all giving accounts unless you choose to add a particular giving account if you wish. So if, say, I wanted it to only look at folks who had not given, say, to my general fund, I could certainly add that to my list of giving accounts on the right-hand side. But in this case, it's not based on, the criteria is not based on a specific account. I want it to be giving to any giving account. So I'm going to not add anything to that selected accounts here, and we notice that on the right-hand side, it says all accounts will be selected. So basically, my non-attendees will have not given to any of my giving accounts, okay? Not given to the church at all, regardless of account. And finally, we would want to then take a look or pay attention to our sort tab at the top. So one of the nice things our developers have added, a couple versions ago was whatever appears on the sort tab in parentheses is the sort that's pre-selected. So without even clicking on the sort tab, I know that this primary sort field is name, last, comma, first, alphabetical, okay? So if I click on that and you want to change it to something different, you can, of course, click on the sort field 1, and you can choose a different sort criteria if you wish, but we're okay with the alphabetical last first option here. But you can change that, and you could also have a subsort, under sort field 2 and sort field 3. Our list is not going to be that complex, so we don't really need a sort field 2 or sort field 3, okay? Finally, before we move on to next for what we want to appear on the report, we're going to toggle back to our People tab. If this is a query that you're going to rerun again, a report, you may want to save this. So if we come down here to the bottom of our page under our People tab here, and we see our Save Selection option down here, if I want to save that as a selection, I would click the little disk icon. If we notice here, if I hover over that, kind of turned on its side, it pops up with the floating help message that says Save Selections. So if I click on that, it opens up my window and allows me to save my selection here. So if I would, enter non-attendee, non-giver, non-giving report, something like that, whatever you're wanting to name it, and I click OK, now that appears in my list, and next time I want to come in here, I can choose that, and it'll repopulate everything here at the top, and I can still use things like the remove line to be able to edit my information here, okay? But I want to save it as with my current criteria. So now I'm ready to move on to step 2. So I'm selecting who I've wanted to include on the report. So I'm going to click Next. It's saved everything about it, my giving criteria and my attendance criteria. So now here are my list of my 5 folks, okay? And on the next page here now I select the report layout or format. What do I want to see on the report? So we're going to choose Basic, and we're going to choose just our basic columnar report. It includes our name, address block information, address information, and home phone, okay? And I'm simply going to click Print. All right, so here are my list of my 5 members and visitors of the church who have not given and not attended for the first 3 months of the year, okay? All right. Yes, of course, I can always close out of this, and I could go, oh, I want to add more information to this report. I would leave it as basic, basic template, basic columnar report, click New, and I might call this, something unique, again, non-attendee. Now, again, this isn't the criteria, this is the report, non-attendee report, something like that. And then when I click OK on that, it takes a few seconds, but it will then open up my column selector field. He said, yeah, it does, it's a little bit, it lags a little bit, but over here is my basic columnar report. It shows my name, address block, primary phone. I could come over here, say, to the left-hand side under available columns, and I could say add cell phone or email for these folks. Then I click, once I've added that, I can adjust my column widths if necessary, okay, and click Print. It will now add the cell phone column to my report, and I can reuse that if I wish, okay? All right. So now let's say I'm coming back in next quarter and I want to run the report to run it for a different date range, okay? So I would now go back to, again, reports and label. We're at the bottom of page 30 here, folks. We're on page 30. Go to reports directory or export. I would now come down to my save selections, and I would choose my non-attendee, non-giving report. It brings in the same criteria that I had pre-constructed on when I had built that, okay? So I would highlight my attendance line here, and I would click remove line. It now removes that. I would go back up to my select a membership field, and I would choose attendance, and here I would enter my new attendance criteria, however that occurred. So if that was, say, second quarter or for the full year through June, it's really up to me. So then I would go, okay, 6/30, 2019, 0 through 0 times. We'll make that March 31st, or sorry, April 1st. Okay, 0 through 0 times, checking my Sunday morning worship, click add selection. But now notice that it's out of order. Okay, so I would highlight my event attendance criteria, and over here on the right-hand side, right here, I've got these up and down arrows. See that? That's what allows me to reorder this. So if I push the up arrow after highlighting that, I can now move the attendance criteria back up. It doesn't really matter in this case what order they're in. Directory report order could come first and then the attendance criteria last. It just needs to be separated by an and. Okay? So the other thing I also need to revisit, of course, is my giving and pledging. So again, it reset the default date range back, and it did save my only those who did not give. But now I need to come in here and change my giving date range from April 1st to June 30th, okay? And when I now have that non-attendee giving report, again, I would choose my accounts and my sort option, but now when I click next, it pops up and it asks me the question, do I want to save the changes to my save selections for my non-attendees? Okay? That's entirely up to you. In any case, it's still going to remember the original criteria, but I'm going to click yes. So now it's then going to go in and it's going to update that with my new criteria. Okay? And then I would simply come into my step 2 screen. I would choose my basic, choose my non-attendee report. All of those fields are going to remain exactly the same unless I wanted to add something or take away something from that layout. If I did come in here and choose that and I went to select fields, it would allow me to go, oh yeah, I want to add email to this field, and I can add that if I wish, okay, email address, say. Okay, and again, I do have a reorder button over on the right-hand side again that allows me to reorder those fields if I wish, okay? And then when I click print, and now notice it's brought in more people because my criteria changed, okay? But if I want to change it so I can add that email address field there, I'm going to come in here. I didn't want to click print, sorry folks. I wanted to go to my page setup. I want to change this to landscape and click OK so it fits that email address all on one page. Sure enough. So there it is, okay? All right, so that is our topic for today. So a little bit about entering basic membership queries, well, kind of complicated queries, frankly, and creating a basic membership report.